Hello, good morning and welcome to the latest webinar in our webinar series, the 3 R's of social media success. Because actually, it doesn't matter what kind of business you have, whether you're B2B, B2C, you're a tiny business or a giant corporation, your choice of social media, the right platform, will be very, very specific to you and your target customers. But there are some basic principles that will help you to get it right. So we have a short webinar today, about 30 minutes, 35 minutes. If you have any questions, you're welcome to email them in. And first of all, we're just going to spend a couple of minutes reminding ourselves what the role of social media is, because I think sometimes businesses have really high expectations, and they often have high expectations of the staff who are managing social media for them. And I think sometimes it's better to just be realistic about how much social media can do for us, but also where the limits lie. Then we'll go into the 3 R's. So it isn't reading, writing, and arithmetic, but it's the right place, the right time, and the right message. And then there'll be a little bit of time for questions at the end. And we've got a nice little freebie for you today, a 3 R's checklist, just some things that you can take away and use as a memory aid for later on. So what is the role of social media? Well, your customer journey has changed. It used to be a lot less complex than it is now. And in fact, your customers are looking for an awful lot more information before they pick the phone up or send you an email, fill in that inquiry form on your website. And it's estimated that about 70% of their decision making is done before they ever get in contact with you. So where are they looking? Well, they're all over the internet. They'll be doing lots of online searches. They'll be looking in social media to see how you behave, how you respond, and the comments and the positive testimonials and things from clients, sort of favorable reviews. They're trying to build a picture of you. They want to know, can they trust you? Can you deliver? Are you the real deal? So authenticity is so important in social media. And it's often one of the downsides for a business when they want to outsource that social media management, because it's very difficult to get your voice across and your key messages and tone of voice. But I absolutely love this diagram. I use it regularly when I'm working and delivering workshops, and I think it's just such a great map of the real customer journey nowadays. So where are they looking? Well, depending on the sector that you're in and who your customers are, they might be looking on Facebook. They might be looking at the videos that you've uploaded, the images you've uploaded, posts and things that you're sharing. They'll certainly be looking on Twitter, because Twitter works for B2B, B2C, business to government, any direction. They might be over on YouTube, particularly if they're looking to learn, if they want to educate themselves, they want to learn more or see how you do something, see how your products and services are applied. They might be on LinkedIn, especially if it's business development or it's a business-to-business sale. But either way, they're going to expect to find lots of different information about you that helps them build that picture, build that trust. So where are you online at the moment? Where are you on social media? Now, where does social media help us in terms of marketing? I think people think that they'll put some posts on Facebook and the phone will ring and they'll make money. And if you're really, really lucky, that happens. But by and large, social media works for us at 2 key stages in this marketing sales funnel. It works at the very, very beginning. So it's really good at attracting visitors. It's great at bringing people to your website. Perhaps they come and read a blog article, or they come and see a video that you've produced. Maybe they come and download a report that you've produced or a white paper. But it's what we would consider to be weak links. These aren't your friends. These are digital connections to your business and to your online profile. But it might be the beginnings of a relationship. One of the nice things about social media is that pretty quickly it's a conversation between you and another individual. So it works brilliantly at the sort of TOFI, top of funnel. But it can also work superbly at the very bottom of the funnel, past conversion. Once somebody becomes your customer and they really like you, they think what you do is great, and they're going to interact with the posts that you create, the social media that you're doing, and they're going to share it, they're going to move it on. And these become your sort of your advocates or your raving fans. And that's where social media can work brilliantly for you as well. Those other stages though, conversion and closing leads, that's where you need a really good, strong email funnel, and you need a good website or an ability to close leads with people. So don't expect too much of your social media. So some reasonable goals. Okay, so customer service goals, fantastic. It can be a great place for people to connect with you. Obviously, the downside of that is that if there's an over-reliance on your Twitter feed or your Facebook page for handling complaints, then A, that's where people will go if they want to get your attention, and B, you're doing it all in public. Now, that may be good for you, or sometimes it could be quite difficult, particularly if it starts to get personal or if names are involved. And those are often conversations that you want to take offline as soon as possible. Product research goals. I know a number of businesses, and particularly coaches and trainers and people designing online courses, who will actually consult the crowd, and they will kind of develop the ultimate product based upon the feedback that they get. I think it's a really clever way of doing it. But if you're looking to make some kind of product or service decision in your business, perhaps consulting the people that you're connected to on social media will give you a feel for what those people feel about it. It is good for lead generation. It's certainly a much more cost-effective way than some of the traditional methods of lead generation, like advertising, cold calling. But again, you're going to have the opportunity to start that relationship, build it slowly, but you need to develop that relationship over time, and possibly elsewhere, i.e. through email marketing, through your content marketing, or on your website itself, and dare I say it, in person. So the first of the 3 R's is basically being in the right place. Where are your customers? Because where your customers are, and also where your customers are happy to see you too, is where you need to be. So I'm having to go through the decision at the moment about going over to Snapchat. I'm a LinkedIn girl. I love Twitter. But if my customers are on Snapchat, then I will go and communicate with them on Snapchat, because, we have to go to the waterhole, basically. We have to go where our customers are. So where are you at the moment on social media, and where are your customers? And in order to find out, you might need to go off and do a little bit of research. So in the UK, obviously, as in the rest of the world, we love our social media. And Facebook is still the dominant platform. Now, I'm afraid, We Are Social, by the way, is an excellent source of data on social media usage, both for the UK and worldwide. But these are the most up-to-date stats I've been able to get my hands on. So apologies for that. Obviously, for 2016, we're going to see a slightly different picture. I think certainly where Snapchat is concerned, I think it's more like sort of 18 to 20% are on there. But Facebook and Facebook Messenger still dominate, because let's face it, Facebook is fun. It's fun. It's where we go to hang out. It's where we go to connect. Increasingly, it's where we go to organize our social lives. And it's often where we go to research and resource things as well. Twitter is fun and easy, and it's that short, quick, pithy little message, but it's a really, really good place to connect with, just about anybody. Chief execs are on there, finance directors are on there, journalists, influencers, mums working from home, all sorts of people are on Twitter. And with the use of the hashtag, you can find a conversation on the topic that you're interested in and see how everybody else feels about it. It's a great place to research how people feel about stuff. WhatsApp is really popular because it's a great way of communicating, sharing photos. I have many friends who use it to keep in touch with family overseas. And it's a funny place, but you know what? It's where an awful lot of group conversations happen. It's where a lot of people organize their social lives. They've started to allow a little bit of advertising on there too. And then the other big platforms. So Google Plus, I'll talk about a bit later. A lot of people have, they've written Google Plus off, but we always put key content on Google Plus because it's so well optimized, and because unlike the other platforms, if you're searching for a post or a recent post that you've created and uploaded, you'll find a link to the content and not just a link to your online profile. You know, it's the downside of posting directly into Facebook and nowadays increasingly LinkedIn. You can't find that content later. You can't link to it from somewhere else. Pinterest and Instagram and Snapchat are all really visual platforms. So it's for the show me, don't tell me customer who really just wants to see something, and ideally, either a beautiful image or something that's really going to entertain and engage them. But this is current sort of social media usage in the UK. And these are some of the big platforms. So ones that I haven't mentioned on the previous slide would be YouTube. 1 billion plus users worldwide. It's where we go to learn, isn't it? It's where we go to educate ourselves. It's where we go to educate others. The music industry has really embraced YouTube. It's also increasingly this fabulous archive of old movie footage, TV programs, anything that you can think of. But it's also spawned a generation of vloggers. And these are people who've managed to create their own audience. These are celebrities in their own right. Let's face it, most of us would never have heard of them. But people like PewDiePie and Zoella are raking in a nice little fortune because YouTube allows you to advertise, and you can advertise on your platform. And we'll talk in our next webinar, which is about to pay or not to pay, when to pay for advertising on social media. So we'll go into more details in that next webinar. But just working around the wheel, we have the little monkey face, which is Blab, and Periscope, both live streaming video, the opportunity to have a group chat with people. And you know what? Sometimes people might want to see you, they might want to hear you and find out what you have to say, rather than perhaps a static post like an image or a blog or something. And then the little ghost, Snapchat, which is, everybody's all over Snapchat at the moment, but Snapchat have also realized that they're onto a great thing here. You can now advertise on Snapchat, so the big brands are going in. LinkedIn and SlideShare, probably less used than a lot of the other platforms in terms of numbers, but from a B2B point of view, they are very trusted platforms, and it's where you can have your online business credentials. And then finally, Twitter. Twitter is one that a lot of people, they either love it or they hate it. Don't really get it sometimes, but once you do, you find that it's a fantastic way of engaging with just about anybody on the planet. You could tweet the President of the United States of America on Twitter. You wouldn't be able to reach them anywhere else. So it's a very diplomatic, it's a very democratic platform. Okay, so a couple of other forms of social media that you might not think of immediately would be blogs, especially if you've got comments turned on your blog and people can actually have a dialogue with you. Forums, wiki sites like Wikipedia, customer rating sites, TripAdvisor, Trustpilot, which would be included in that too. And let's face it, for many of us, that's where we go to check out the place we're planning to stay in, or even the people that we're thinking of working with. You can even rate your employer nowadays, or your future employer. Podcasts. fantastic form of social media, what we sometimes call companion media too. And it gives people the opportunity to consume that content at a time that's convenient for them. It doesn't have to be a live broadcast. And then things like the video sharing sites, YouTube, Vimeo, and obviously digital photo or image sites. Your customer is mobile. They have a fabulous little smartphone computer in their pocket. They take it everywhere with them, even to bed. They're never without it. I can't remember the last time I was either in a training room or working with clients or in a meeting or a networking event where people's phones weren't not just, on them, but next to them, on display. We're never away from them nowadays. But your customer is mobile, they're going to be consuming an awful lot of the social media posts that you create through that smartphone. So what that means is you have to think about the time of day, because actually it gives you a lot more flexibility. That phone's with them in the evening, it's with them first thing in the morning. It's with them in the car and it's with them when they're stuck in traffic. So that can sometimes be an opportunity for you when you're thinking about scheduling. And also in terms of what you post, how long it is, you need to be mindful that on a small screen, you need a lovely, big, impactful image, big writing that's easy to read, and probably fewer words, 2 or 3 words typically. So your consumer is mobile and they'll have all of their social media apps on the screen. The next thing we need to think about is the right time. Now, time's an interesting one for customers, isn't it? Because it's time of day, day of the week. We all know that Friday afternoon, everybody's trying to get out of the office, which is why when we do our live webinars, we do them in the morning. But it's also about the other priorities that people have going on around them at the time. So if you're B2C, for example, and you are scheduling your posts to go in the evening and early morning and over the weekend, which are good times to do it, let's face it, you may find that you're competing with quite a few other things going on in that person's world. There could be family demands. There could be the fact that whilst they're looking at your posts, they've also got the laptop on, the TV's there, somebody's speaking to them. You might have a third or a quarter of their attention. So that's quite a lot of competition for your social media. Location is important because, where are people consuming stuff? If it's through a mobile phone, chances are they're on the move. They might be waiting for something, or they might be traveling somewhere. They might be checking out your restaurant or your pub on their journey over, or they want to see what's on at the cinema. They're coming to some kind of attraction. These things, people are looking on their phone for something that they plan to do pretty quickly. So thinking about where they are and making sure that, what you're putting there is appropriate. Can other people see it? If a young person picked up the phone, is it something that would be appropriate? Work priorities are really important too. Let's face it, we all have a certain amount of stuff we're trying to get through in the week. And sometimes, with the best will in the world, your LinkedIn update came through and they just didn't have time to deal with it. It doesn't mean that people don't care. It doesn't mean that they're not interested. You might just have caught them when they had other things going on. But there's another dimension to time as well. And it's thinking about the right time in that customer's journey. So if they're at the very early stages and they're just beginning to perceive a need or something that they want or fancy, then obviously content and posts that will intrigue them, that will pique their curiosity, attract them maybe to come and have a look at your website, that content will help them. Later on their journey, further down the line, they might need something a bit deeper. So they might want a video that shows them how to do something or how something is applied. They might want a webinar like this, where there's an opportunity to go and expand upon a topic, that people are interested in. But, the further they get along that journey, the more they need. So you may find that, you're sharing links in social media, or you're creating posts in social media that actually help people to start making choices, start making decisions. Now, this is a big part of content marketing, and this is something that we offer regular live workshops on, but we're also creating online courses for autumn 2016. But thinking about your customer's journey and the kind of stuff they need to hear from you along that journey is really important. The thing is, you're not going to know where they are. So you need to be creating a variety of content, a variety of posts, different lengths, different formats, so that you hit them at the right time. And the best way to plan, obviously, is to use a few tools. So, everybody uses a spreadsheet. You don't need things more complex than that. You need something that's easy to update and that's really flexible. We use Excel spreadsheets. We used Hootsuite for a really long time. We've used Buffer. Both are really good tools, particularly when you're getting started. As your business develops, you might feel that you want something that's a little bit more sophisticated. Twitter's a great social listening tool because it gives you an idea of what people are talking about, what's trending, and how they feel about it, what those opinions are. It also gives you lovely vocabulary that you can use in your own posts. A couple of great scheduling tools that we recommend all of these. Different price points, I suppose different specialisms too. Buffer, Hootsuite, fab when you're getting started. Edgar, sort of mid-price range, has its pros and cons. Sprout Social, slightly more expensive tool, slightly more sophisticated tool, but also gives you an awful lot of analytics, and particularly around sort of hashtags and themes. So, you'll know what you need for your size of business. So the third R is for right message. So right place, right time, right message. And you know what? I hate to say it, but the modern consumer is really quite egocentric. And, I have to include myself in that. I really care about what I'm trying to achieve. I care about what I'm looking for. You pop into my feed and I'm not interested, I'm just going to skim right over. And you know what? That's what your customers like nowadays. Which means that you need to make your posts about them. Your content needs to be about them. It needs to be relevant to them. It needs to be interesting. It needs to be engaging. If it's about you, do you know what? A lot of the time, unless they really love you, they'll just kind of drive on by. So many of you will know Zig Ziglar, master of the pithy one-liner, but he's right when he says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, and particularly how much you care about them. And if you can reach out to people in the content that you create for social media, and you can demonstrate that you have something that will change their lives, that will improve things for them in some way, you will get their attention. But, it's not about what you know, it's about how much you care. So you need to share stuff that's relevant to their lives. So how are you going to find out about this? Well, this is where the social listening stuff comes in. I always recommend with clients when I'm helping them get started with social media, or even when they're moving up to the next level and when we're moving on to a more sort of advanced user. Go and watch and listen. Go and observe, be passive for a while, just see what people talk about, see what they share, see what people are interacting with, and see what that kind of tone is, the style is on that platform or within that little group that they're connected to. Because otherwise you can get it wrong. It's like turning up at a fancy dress party and actually you've worn your ball gown. You've got to get the right clothes and you've got to get the right tone for the platform. And try and understand them. Now, one of the things we do in our workshops, in fact, we do it on all of our workshops, is we develop buyer personas. because a buyer persona helps you get a little bit beyond the kind of broad categories that somebody falls into, to where you're able to think about what's that person trying to achieve. So it could be that they want to overcome a problem or a challenge, they've got an issue that they're dealing with. It could be something really positive. It could be an aspiration, an ambition, a desire. I mean, let's face it, a holiday or a new outfit is something that you desire. So what's their mindset? So trying to think in terms of that mindset, what's in their head, what's going on in their head, and how do you reach that? Rather than a lot of stuff about your products and services and about what a great bunch of people you are. Thinking of solutions to their challenges, maybe anticipating them. Best place to find out about those, obviously, is if you have frequently asked questions, or if you consider the things you always ask you, and you think, this is really obvious, it's on a website, why don't people get this? It's because, maybe it's complex, or maybe you need to try a little bit harder to explain it to people. Or maybe it's some things just need to be explained again and again and again. And then gradually people will get them and assimilate that knowledge for themselves and go, yeah, right, okay, I've got that now. So solutions to their challenges, because if you start talking about somebody's problems in a way that they feel shows real empathy and understanding, but also that you're offering some kind of solution, you'll get their attention. Other things that people love. Okay, so in the work environment, it could be tools to help them crush their numbers. We're all struggling with too much work. Everybody nowadays is feeling overwhelmed. Everybody, either whether in their working life or trying to manage their family and their private life, everybody's got too much on. So any hacks, any tips that help people, and also things that make them look better, will get their attention. Sharing other people's good stuff, by the way, must-read articles and digests and list posts. Sharing other people's good quality content is a fantastic way to inform the people you're connected to, educate them. It's a good way to connect with the people whose content you've shared. I think it shows a certain amount of humility, because let's face it, none of us knows everything. And often you'll find a piece of content that it would have taken you maybe a few weeks to produce. You couldn't afford to do it, but it's superb. Share it. Because funnily enough, they don't remember the author, the original. They remember you. They remember you, and they thank you for sharing it with them. Don't assume that they would have seen it anyway. And then, do you know what? We all like pretty pictures in our feed. I know it sounds a bit trivial, but we do. So if you have some really nice graphics or infographics or photography, or you've done some text overlay on some great photos, superb. People love that stuff. And as I said, it makes their feed look good. Few tips on different kinds of content for B2B and B2C. I'm not going to go through this in a lot of detail because I think you guys have got this already. Just a couple of things I'll drill down on though. Business to business. Do you know what? It's business to business for the first 5 minutes. And then after that, it's you speaking to the person as an individual. That's where the relationship's going to be, after all, isn't it? You'll be on first name terms within an hour. So think person to person. Don't think business to business. And then on the B2C side, honestly, guess why people follow brands on social media? They want offers, they want deals, they want to know when that flash sale is going to be, they want coupons, all of those things. There's very little brand loyalty out there nowadays. So just think of some different types of content. This will give you some ideas of maybe some other things that you could mix up into your feed. And then finally, some great advice from Pam Moore. Now, Pam Moore is one of the many fabulous social media gurus that I've encountered through social media marketing world. And the Social Media Examiner has a website, a blog, a podcast, a newsletter, and it's an excellent source of, I'd say, unbiased, neutral information about every single social media platform out there. So if there's a platform that you really want or need to master, check out the Social Media Examiner. It's completely free. They don't do endorsements, all that kind of thing. You know, it's a really good source of information. But I came across Pam a couple of years ago, and I really liked her style. She was talking about Twitter, but I think what she says is relevant to any social media platform. Humanize it. You know, talk like a human being. Treat them like human beings, and understand and empathize. You know, if you show empathy with people, you start to get their attention. You start to build trust with them, and obviously, you know, be real about it too. So if building a big following for you is important, and sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't, you know, it doesn't always matter what the numbers are. A lot of the time it's about the quality. But if you're looking to build your followers, here are a few tips, a few steps you can take. First of all, identify who you're trying to target. You may have some of that information, you may have a lot of information, but what you'll find is the more you know about who you're trying to target, the better the social media platforms will support you, because the targeting tools within them, once you come to the paid side of things, are really, really sophisticated. But it also means that you'll be talking about the topics these people are interested in, you'll be using the language that they understand and use themselves, and your stuff will be relevant to them. Which brings us on to the next one. Know what they're looking for. You'll know that once you start to interact with these people. You'll know the questions that they're asking, but you'll also see the kind of stuff that they interact with. Attract and engage them. I think by being interesting, by being engaging, relevant to them, this is how you'll start to attract people to your profiles, to your pages. And then through building trust, you will get people to come over to your website. You will get them to download that lead magnet that you've created and that you've asked them for maybe an email address in return. You will get them to pick the phone up and give you a ring or send you a direct message, because this happens all the time. And then think about what you're going to measure. You know, as I said earlier, big numbers don't always mean anything. Sometimes people have even bought their followers. Shock horror. So it's more often about the quality and about the quality of that interaction than it is about, you know, just a big number of people. Okay. So what next? You need a plan, don't you? You've got a plan, because planning prevents poor performance. So create a content plan. These are some questions for you to take away from today. And maybe hold up against the plan that you've got at the moment, or maybe use as a starting point for your plans for the future. What is the purpose of your social media activity? Go back to those goals. Think about what you want social media to do for you. Is it lead generation, customer service? Do you need to raise awareness of your brand? Are you a new business? Have you got a really new product or service that nobody's ever seen before? So think about what you're trying to achieve with social media. Think about targeting. Who do you want to be attracting to your page? What will they find valuable? What will they find relevant? And how often will you post? Because it is important to post regularly. It doesn't need to be, you know, dozens of times a day, but it does need to be regular. It needs to be consistent. Because if you have big bursts of activity and then nobody hears from you for a few months, guess what? They're going to kind of peel off and think that you weren't that interested in the first place. And then thinking about a content calendar. This is something that we always use. It's something that we always help clients to develop. Even if it's, you know, a fairly simple plan, Excel spreadsheet, what are you going to be talking about when? Because many industries, many businesses, there'll be a season, there'll be key dates, there'll be key events. You may have key events as well in your business. And having a content calendar is a really great way of making sure that you are ready and prepared to talk about those things at the right time. You've got the other things in your marketing and it's integrated with the rest of your marketing. But social media isn't something that you thought about at the last minute or even when it was too late. Okay, so think about what they will engage with. Research, observe, and listen. It's okay to be passive for quite a while. You can take as long as you want. There's no hurry. It's not going away. Social media is not going to run away without you. It's going to be there for a really long time. And it's sometimes better to wait until you feel ready. You feel you've got the tone of this target group of people. You really know the things they're talking about regularly, the questions that they're asking. And actually, you've got some good answers to those. You've got something that you think they might be interested in. That's the time to start experimenting. And, the stuff to post is the stuff that gets a reaction. Do more of the same. And then just be realistic about what social media can do for you. Okay, the volume is going to be at the bottom, the likes and the follows, but it's much, much harder, and a very much smaller number of people will gradually move up the funnel with you, or gradually move on that journey with you to the point where they've subscribed or they've bought from you. And that's okay. Sales was always like this. Marketing was always like this. It always will be. There's always going to be an element of it that is a numbers game. Because let's face it, not everybody is going to want what we do or what we make. And they may not want it now. It doesn't mean they're not interested. Sometimes it just means it's not the right time for them. So kind of be realistic in terms of what you're expecting social media to do for you. And then I think you're going to enjoy it a lot more. And you know what? It can be terrific fun. You can meet great people that you would never have met otherwise. You can connect with all the people who are meaningful to you as well, and who can really help your business. They could be anywhere in the world. So quick recap. And then what we'll be doing after today's webinar is sending you a little sort of cheat sheet, a checklist, some things, some little takeaways, but also just wanted to talk about the workshops that we do, the live workshops that we do here in Newcastle. If you look at further down the screen, there's a link through to our page on Eventbrite. We have our next webinar will be early in September. The dates for that will be going up this week. But I also work regularly with businesses on a one-to-one basis, either in person or via Skype. So if there's any support that we can offer you at any time, please just get in touch. So quick recap. Social media is great for weak links. So don't expect too much of those people. Don't feel disheartened when it doesn't all go your own way immediately. Sometimes you have to be doing it for a long time, maybe 3 or 4 months before you start to feel some kind of traction with people. Because let's face it, you aren't face to face. So you don't have the rest of those nonverbal cues, the body language, and also the opportunity to have a proper conversation with somebody. At the other end of that funnel, once somebody's become a customer, it's a really, really great way to keep in touch with them. And I find this all the time. I'll look in social media and I'll see the people who interact most frequently with my stuff will be people I know really well. They'll be past customers, or they'll be one of the many associates that I work with, or one of the many businesses that I network with. Those are the people who will support your stuff and share it. And the value of this is the multiplier effect. Think of all the hundreds of people that person is connected to, who wouldn't have seen your stuff if they hadn't shared it with them. So success will depend on picking the right platforms for your target customers. And I would say start with one. Start with one and then build upon that. Get comfortable to the point where you're at capacity. 1 or 2 or 3 platforms is just about right for you. You know why you're using all of them. You know who you attract on those 2 or 3 platforms. Scheduling your content is going to require a bit of planning up front, but it's a much more efficient way of working. And I think also you create better content, you create better posts a lot of the time when you've put the planning in and you've put the thought in to create something that's really meaningful and that's good quality. And quality trumps quantity any day of the week. Then making sure that you're really making an effort to post stuff that's of interest to them, and it isn't just kind of broadcast and your branded stuff, your products and services. It's okay to have a mix. It's all right if some of your stuff is about you, but maybe flip it on its head. Maybe think, so what? You know, okay, this is great. So what? What's in it for them? Because if you can translate it into a benefit for them in some way, then I think you're likely to get more attention for it. Consistency, be regular, be frequent, good quality, and also be patient, okay? It doesn't matter if it takes you months or even years to gradually build your social media audience. How long do you intend to be in business? How long will your business be in business? You know, it doesn't need to happen overnight, which is why I tend to shy away from buying followers. You know, it's pretty meaningless. It's much better. Those people will never convert to a sale. It's better to attract people to you gradually. Those are the people who are more likely to, you know, want to become a customer at some point. Okay, any questions? Okay, we've got a couple of questions in today. We've got a little bit of time. So the first one is about Hootsuite. You want to know what Hootsuite is best for. We've used Hootsuite for many years. We had the free version for a while. We had the paid version for a while. So Hootsuite's really good in that it gives you a kind of dashboard view. You can have up to 5 different social media profiles or accounts in there. And you can set which of the types of information you want to appear on your screen. And I found it was always particularly valuable for kind of monitoring interactions with your posts. So you could have a column for your you know, a named list that you'd created on Twitter, or maybe sort of likes and retweets and mentions, rather than just a kind of, you know, going into Twitter itself and looking at that page that doesn't necessarily tell you what's going on. So it's a very good management tool. One of the downsides of Hootsuite is that they used to have a template function, so you could create perhaps a tweet that you might use a few times. You could create it as a template, and it's gone now. That feature's gone. Buffer, we've used Buffer. Buffer's really nice. Buffer's great if you've got maybe a selection of tweets or posts that you want to be sharing on a regular basis. They might be informative. There might be links to some key content on your website. But you know, Hootsuite is a really good tool. I think it's a really, really nice place to start. I've got another question here about live streaming video. A couple of people asking about Blab, Periscope. Well, I've been a guest on a number of Blabs and a number of Periscopes, and I think they're useful in that you get recorded content afterwards, so you will get a recording. It's not always the most straightforward thing to extract, but with a little bit of work around, you can have a kind of recorded asset that you can then share. I think the upside is that you can, particularly on Periscope, you can set a time and you can have, you know, you can do a Periscope from just about anywhere. You can share it on your Twitter feed. People will kind of join you, and maybe you'll, you know, 10, 15 minutes. You'll have people kind of joining and leaving at the same time. That's absolutely fine. People can post comments as you're speaking. It can be a bit difficult to manage if you're just doing it solo. Sometimes it's better to have somebody who's helping you, who's sort of monitoring the dialogue beside the screen, and then it helps you to kind of steer the conversation or make sure that you don't miss any key questions. Blab is slightly different in that you can have a number of live sort of streaming videos going on at the same time. So you could perhaps have a sort of group conversation or a demonstration, and then others can join in real time. You can sort of be patched in from your phone or from your laptop. So you can see people's faces. So it's terrific fun. It's a bit like having a panel discussion. And with any of these things, any of the live streaming stuff, you know, people love it. So if you find that this is what your target audience seems to be really engaging with, then start having a play with it, you know, maybe with some friends or something, but start playing with this stuff, because people absolutely love it. But you do need to have, be mindful of the fact you'll need some kind of moderation. You do sometimes get trolls popping in, being a bit unpleasant, but you just kind of, you know, you just kick them out basically. But there are so many different ways of communicating with people now, and it's thinking about, in a way, it's like different media styles or different learning styles. We've all got our preferences, but it's thinking about what your customers, your target customers, really like. So if you'd like to know about our future webinars, our next webinar will be on social media again, and we'll be looking in detail about the paid features on those big platforms, to pay or not to pay, you know, when and where it's worth doing. We'll send invitations out for that in the next few weeks. We offer live training sessions here in Newcastle. They are co-hosted with Northeast Sales and Marketing Academy. And if you click on the link at the bottom of this screen, it'll take you through to the Advanced Social Media workshop that we'll be doing again in September. We'll also be offering a bite-sized online course from autumn 2016. And that's going to be something that helps you get started with content marketing, because content marketing is the platform that sits beneath all of these new forms of communication. We'll be sending you a link later on with a link to the replay, and also a link to our little cheat sheet, the 3 hours checklist, and finally, just a couple of words about me. So this is me. I'm a consultant, I'm a trainer, I teach digital marketing, I teach pure marketing as well. And you know what? I absolutely love what I do. And I feel so blessed that I get to work with my peers on a regular basis. And our teaching sessions, they're all professional marketers. So we get a chance week in, week out to really kind of interrogate the old marketing theory, see what works, what doesn't. But on the digital marketing side, check out the tools and see what's good and what isn't. So that's a little bit about me. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed the webinar. If you have any questions that we didn't cover, just drop us a line, hit reply in the email that you got to join, and don't hesitate to get in touch at any time if you have any questions. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next webinar. Goodbye.